Hey, this is Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor. I saw this arch by Kobi. I think it was in the Qualitext group. It might have been Balloon Friends. Anyway, I was just amazed by the beauty of it and the symmetry and the fact that he had incorporated different sized balloons in here to create a rather unique look. So I thought, let's see if I can't make a template out of this one. Well, it proved to be rather difficult. So the first place I'm going to start here is finding the frame, since it's not just a typical frame where I would take like my 3/4 inch gray PVC pipe and just bend it. It looks like there's some columns in here. Maybe it comes straight up and then it curves. So for me to find the frame, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to use one of my shapes. I'm going to use what's called the curve, and we're just going to come straight up here, and what I'm aiming for is right in between the duplets right here where I'm kind of stopping. That's what I'm aiming for, because I know those duplets are being wrapped around the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and then I'm going to go ahead and go again. And the way this shape works is as you move it around, it kind of bends and creates a softer line. So every time you click, it's going to, I don't know, kind of stop the curve, I guess, and then, because if I just kept going around, it would create a weird curve. So anyway, I've learned how to, that if I just click periodically, then it kind of forces the curve to go a little bit more where I want. So anyway, this just kind of gets you the general shape of the frame. And okay, so that's roughly where it was. You can see where I did a little bit of a jag there, but that's okay. So that's the frame. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So one of the things I did after I created the frame was I went through and I meticulously drew in each of these balloons where you can see them here. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste one of these balloons out so you can see it. It's not the typical shape of a balloon. I actually distorted it a little bit. This is what the, where'd it go? Here it is. This is what the balloon normally looks like, and this is what I ended up compressing the sides a little bit, because I could see in Kobi's arch that the balloons were they were quite compressed. Let me pull that forward here. In some cases, he really pushed them together to get the look that he wanted. So I painstakingly put in all the balloons, made the little circles and everything, and then went in and actually edited the balloons to flatten them out. So how did I go from this balloon to this balloon? Well, because this balloon is actually drawn, I traced a Qualitext balloon to achieve it. It has what's called editable points. So I can go into a drawing tools format and I can click on edit points, and you'll see all of these little points here are editable. So what that means is I can grab the point and I can change the shape. Okay, so what I had done, I'm going to zoom in this a little bit more here so we can see it a little bit better. So what I had done is I had grabbed these little points and I had pulled them in a little bit to mimic the balloon being a bit compressed on the sides. And that probably took me literally about 5 minutes to get a balloon shape that looked like it had been compressed a little bit on the sides. It wasn't perfectly symmetrical, but it was good enough. So I went through that whole thing and ended up with a template that was okay. Let me get this shrunk down again here to where I wanted it. Okay, so that was okay. And then I went ahead and colored it in, and it was okay. I mean, it's probably good enough. And you can see some gaps. You know, there's some bigger gaps here. It wasn't exactly centered, and that bothered me. So I thought, okay, so what can I do? How can I make this even better? So I decided I was going to go ahead and draw my own frame. And so what I did is this freehand shape, I took it off the screen here for just a moment. I'm going to shrink it down. And if you put it into the work area over here, it is available for other pages within your group. And so what I did is I came in here and I made it larger. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate it over here. And then I took the circle and I made an oval that pretty much fit the shape. So I'm going to go ahead and uncolor that, no fill. And yeah, it looks pretty good. So I was able to get that same kind of shape, which is right here. And then these lines were just literally lines drawn straight down. So there's my guide, and I just pulled it straight down like that. Copied, paste, and brought the other one over on this other side. Just like that. And then I could delete the bigger one, and there's the shape of my arch. So I did that, and then I painstakingly created each of these clusters. Now on the Ceara arch over on Eduardo's page, Eduardo Seiti, I think it's like esbde.com, he shows what these quads look like. So I basically created these individual little quads. Let me ungroup this here for just a moment. So for example, this one here, looking at Kobi's proportions, I was able to calculate what the different size balloons were. So here's another quad here, and here's the other one here. So they're basically, and then the fourth one. So knowing how Eduardo builds the Ceara arch, these are quads, 3 different size balloons in some of them, and then in the other ones they're just little duplets. I recreated the individual quads in balloons that were sized. So I took, using some math, I calculated how big the balloons were, and then I started putting it together, and I realized that Kobi has quite a bit of compression in his arch, and I decided to loosen up the compression a little bit. Having never built the arch, I may have to change my template a bit, but I decided to do it this way because the template is what we use to sell to the customer, and it doesn't necessarily have to be representative of what you're going to do to actually build the arch. So I think that was a good decision. So I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so I went ahead and made these, and when I put the template together, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the color here for a moment. One of the challenges I ran into was how to position them on the frame itself. So what I noticed, especially coming around the curves here, was to make sure that every time I basically wrapped a quad onto the frame, that it was coming on at a 90-degree angle, that the quad was perpendicular to the frame. And when I started doing it that way, the balloons fit together really nicely. I did learn a new tool, by the way, and that was these guys down here. There's some numbers down here that tell you how big the object is that you have selected and where it's sitting in relation to the workspace. But what I found was really useful having this right here is that I could go in and I could now change my angle, 1 degree at a time, to make things fit just the way I wanted to. The way I used to do it is I used to come up here into rotate and then go into free rotate and manually do it, or you could come in here under measurement and rotate it there. But as you rotated it there, you couldn't see what you were doing. So that was kind of bothersome. So I learned that if I clicked on the little thing, I don't know why it disappeared there, that if I clicked on there, or the other way to call it up too is to click the measurement word up here. It kind of toggles this little dialog box. So anyway, that was kind of a little shortcut that I learned. All right, what else can I tell you about this? Okay, so now I've got the arch basically built, and if I wanted to go in and scale this, I'm going to get rid of this dialog box here. If I wanted to scale this for a doorway, let me shrink this up just a bit more here, and I am going to, I don't want to get rid of that, so I'm going to go ahead and insert a duplicate page so I can work with this. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this stuff here. Come on, select it, okay. And I'm going to regroup it, group, and I'm going to lock my aspect ratio to keep things in proportion. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to create an archway that was 8 feet tall. So based on my 1 inch equals 1 foot, right now this arch is approximately 5 feet. So if we just went ahead and made it 8 feet, everything increases proportionately because I had my locked aspect ratio selected. So if this is 8 feet tall at the top of the balloon, not the clearance, but at the top of the balloon, this arch is almost 11 feet wide on the outside. So let's say that's what I wanted. And so now I need to know how big my balloons are to be inflated. Well, you can go in and you can click on these balloons individually. So I know this is about 3/4 of a foot, which would be, what, 9 inches? I know my little balloon is about 4 inches wide, just over 1/3 of a foot. So now you've got some formulas that you can work with. Like this one here, the width is 0.62 inches, so that's roughly 7 inches. You will also notice too that when we come down to the straight part, the gray balloons on the inside are about the same size as the pink ones, which isn't exactly like his formula here, but what I noticed was that in order for him to maintain the bigger balloons around the outside, there was a lot of compression here. And so I wasn't quite true to his design. I do like his design a lot better than the template that I created. So if you wanted to play with that, you could. Understand you're going to get some distortion here. So that's entirely up to you. I had a hard time trying to draw that distortion, I guess is what I'm saying. So I came up with a little bit of a different template, and when you color it in, the eye still does kind of still sees that zigzag pattern that it had. So where did I have it colored in still? Oh, that was the old one that I had colored in. So yeah, so this is a new template. I'm going to have it available on Etsy if you want to purchase it. And yeah, this was probably the single hardest template I have made. I enjoyed the challenge, and I thank Kobi for letting me play around with the design that he made. Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor.